Welcome to the NdB Sunday Show with me, Christine, and Lauren Evanthia, the founder of the Organic Humanity Movement. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm looking forward to our discussion today. There's so many things that have happened this week, or that happen every week. South Africa is certainly a very interesting place to live.
Before we go to the politics, let us start with a crime the past weekend, that armed invasion of former International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor's home by balaclava-clad men, and then the murder of 2 tourists in the Kruger National Park, the first in the park's history. This despite the slight decrease in the latest crime statistics.
I wonder how correct those statistics are, because, I'm just hearing everywhere I go about crime happening all the time, like in local communities where I lived. And I think especially, what happened to Naledi Pandor is awful. A lot of people have experienced armed robberies and armed home invasions. They can end very badly. Luckily, she got out alive, but that doesn't happen for so many people. And I think when things like this happen to people in power, are they going to wake up and actually do something? History says no, but hopefully this can be a wake-up call that this country's in serious trouble and we need to do something. But with regard to the Kruger National Park, that was quite chilling because we've actually been there once. We were privileged to be able to be invited there by friends, and it was quite an ordeal to get in. So I always perceived the Kruger National Park being this very safe, high security area. And I read the chilling news article last night actually, about how their bodies were found in the water and then there were stab wounds and all the rest. And I think that is absolutely a huge tragedy for the people, but also an absolute blow to our tourism industry, which we need. Our economy is not doing well. I think our GDP is at 1.6% growth. So every crime, every setback is affecting our economy, and we can't afford it at all.
Let's go to the major political developments of the past week. Firstly, Patriotic Alliance Gayton McKenzie is vociferous in his support for President Cyril Ramaphosa, even to the point of indicating that he would vote against impeachment. What is behind his loyalty?
I'm honestly not surprised. Honestly, if you look at the GNU, it is really held up by toothpicks at this moment. It's really a relationship that is doomed before it even really began. I don't think he's the only one that will side with the president and oppose impeachment. I think so would the DA, so would many of the others. Why? What is everyone so afraid of? Everyone, before the GNU was formed, everyone was so terrified that the ANC, MK, and EFF would form some consolidated bloc and then destroy the country with their communist policies. And so the parties in the GNU, and let's not forget the ministerial positions afforded to certain parties because of their relationship in the GNU, are not going to say a word to disrupt the apple cart. When in history has a politician in the current system ever stood up and said something that actually represents the will of the people? What do? They make sure that they are basically appeasing whoever gave them their power. And now Gayton McKenzie, he's a successful businessman as far as I understand. There's a few ways one can look at this. On one hand, with regards to the PA and the rise of the PA, so spontaneously and quickly, they're very much, from my perspective, I was in the DA at the time, they're very much opposition to the DA in the Western Cape, very vocal, had a great support structure, great at organizing. So it's not surprising that his allegiance lies more ANC. I think he could position himself or his party, as a better option than the ANC, as opposed to always being that oppositional voice. So not surprising at all. But on the other hand, what is he? He's not just a party president, he's also the minister. Do the South African people know how much ministers earn? There's a lovely article on, I think, the SABC's website that breaks down the earnings of all the politicians. Ministers, and I'm thinking of all the ministers, the ANC ministers, the DA ministers, they earn, I think it's 230,000 Rand a month. Now just think about yourself in your job. Have you ever had to ignore what superiors are doing to just keep your job, as an example? It happens to a lot of people. Now imagine being in their position, earning that fortune. Automatically, this is what happens. Politicians, often unemployable people, enter politics, or sometimes business people, or sometimes just random people with good intentions into politics, and then they enter as a salary level that they're not necessarily accustomed to. And then all of a sudden, you increase your quality of life. You have a big bond to pay, you have a big car installment to pay. Now you're sending your kids to Kruger or whatever, and you have all these massive expenses, and you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. And this is why the system is so broken, because it financially captures people who might have had good intentions before they set foot into politics.
Talking about somebody else whose ministerial salary is very important to him, that former Democratic Alliance leader, John Steenhuisen. Meanwhile, the farmers are furious with his handling of the foot and mouth disease crisis and the vaccination rollout. And people in his own party, many at a high level, would like to see the back of him.
Not surprising, he made some fatal errors, but I think it's more than that. I think the DA as the opposition and also being part of the GNU is a little bit of a crisis point. I think they've probably, Steenhuisen at the helm or not, doesn't really matter. He pushed something during the vaccine drive that was not in the best interest of the people. Was it ego-driven? Was it coming from a place of wanting to prove the government can deliver? It really backfired. But I think ultimately the way I read it is that it's showing the true colors of the opposition party in South Africa. What are their true colors? They are a party that wants control. Look at the digital IDs that have come about because of Minister Dion Schreiber. Since he's been the Minister of Home Affairs, he has pushed for this digital ID. It's really culminating now. We've got John Steenhuisen with the vaccines. Government must do it. He didn't allow private suppliers. You've got the borehole watch. The fact that the DA wants to know what everyone is doing with water on their plot. You got the surveillance state of the city of Cape Town. It's a party that wants control. It's a party that sees problems, and all they can think of as a solution is control, control, control. But honestly, John Steenhuisen's not the leader anymore. Maybe some people in the party are happy. I don't think it makes a difference who the leader is. The average South African citizen can sense the manufactured public image that is just inauthentic. And voters do not like that insincerity. So I actually have a theory that they've reached their maximum capacity of support and they're not going to get it anymore. And likely there are options out there for voters. But as we know, the majority of South Africans actually do not vote in this country, and it's not surprising at all.
Yes, many voters have expressed deep disappointment with the Democratic Alliance, feeling that they were betrayed after they had cast their votes. Over to the chaos on repeat at former President Jacob Zuma's MKP. Papa Penny has flounced off to Floyd Shivambu's new party, and Mr. Zuma has got rid of his daughter Duduzili's close ally, the party's former spokesman, Mr. Ndela.
Isn't politics messy? There's so much drama. It's why I actually left the DA back in the day. There's just all the factions and infighting. It's ridiculous. It's like high school all over again. And really, no party is immune. Just MK and what's Floyd Shivambu's party are getting the spotlight right now. But the way I see it, what did Frank Zappa say? If you know Frank Zappa, he's an amazing, very experimental, legendary musician from back in the day. And he said that politics is really just the entertainment side of the industrial military complex. He is 100% right. It is all a show. It is entertainment. It is given to us just to keep us placated, to think we're being somewhat represented, to feel like our ideologies are somewhere in parliament. It's all just a show. And with regards to the shakeup, I actually sympathize a little bit with NK in that they are 3 years old, or 2.5 years old, and they are the third biggest party. So to actually organize all that leadership structure must be very, very challenging, especially because of how people want certain positions, that will fight for certain positions. What Penny mentioned, Papa Penny, about how certain people are just ANC agents within the party and you try to tell leadership this. This is one of the problems. I mean, that's bound to happen anyway. And in fact, what I thought is, how do we know that the spokesperson's not been let go to join another party just to be on the inside for Jacob Zuma? So I'm going to be watching very carefully to see if he actually goes to Africa Mayibuye, or if he stays out of politics, or maybe he re-enters the party in another position. I don't know. But politics is messy. It's why the system has to change. It's just drama, drama, drama. Think about it. You start an organization that wants to support libertarian principles, or you start an organization that wants to push for nationalization. It doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you are. You enter politics, you have an executive, you have your structures, and then when there's this permanent fighting within the party because of elections that happen in the party is immediately fractured. And when the party is fractured, can it achieve its goal? Whether you agree with their goal or not, can it achieve its goal? Absolutely not. And I recognize this as a huge flaw in the system. I was a member and quite active with the DA. And the internal stuff just frustrated me so much, to the point where I woke up one morning, I thought, I'm going to leave and I'm going to start the organic humanity movement, which I did. So internal politics is sick, and it is what is holding this country back. People looking after their own interests is holding this country back. So we need to completely change how we do politics in this country if we want to see South Africa get on a path towards progress and success. It's not going to happen with all this infighting. It's a complete shambles.
Quite. Interestingly, I don't know if you've seen on social media, there's a growing trend of support for Freedom Front Plus, Minister of Correctional Services, Minister Groenewald, amongst Black people, with many saying that if they could vote for president, they would vote for him instead of Deputy President Paul Mashatile, the ANC's Deputy President.
I saw a couple of posts pop up on my Facebook timeline, and I could smell the AI a mile away. And I did wonder, where is this coming from? Is this just organic, spontaneous support, or what? And interestingly, it was some major news house, was it Mail and Guardian? I'm not sure. They posted a whole investigation in how they have actually they've traced it back to some guy who has nothing to do with politics, who charges people to promote certain campaigns, a fortune actually. And I think, whether it's true or not, I think in Peter Groenewald, maybe people do see someone just getting down to business and doing the job, because isn't that what we need? We don't really need ideology anymore. We just need people that can do things and get things done. Look at the job description and then execute it. Plain and simple. We don't care what color your t-shirt is if you can just deliver. That's where we're at as a South African citizenry, I believe. Let's just fix stuff. So I think maybe there is a little bit of that, makes sense. But on the other hand, it does paint a picture because of how the campaign has been rolled out. Not so much about who's behind it, because no one really knows. We are living in very interesting times where the fourth industrial revolution and politics in South Africa is really colliding. And that is a little bit scary, because when you have social media combined with AI tools that can be very powerful if used correctly, what we are seeing is an era we are entering where we can't tell what truth is anymore. We can't tell what is right, what is factual, what is wrong. And so the interesting part for me is that in the past, before AI, even before social media was too much of a big deal like it is today, you would hear a party speak at an event or on TV. You'd look at their website, read their manifesto as an example. I'm using politics as an example that applies to everything. And then you might like what they say. So you're like, okay, let me join them. And then you might hear some dissenting voices, oppositional parties criticizing them, media criticizing them. But those critiques are coming from a genuine place of concern or just disagreement, which is perfectly fine in a healthy democracy. But now we're moving into an era where people are only pushing things that are viral. Nothing that comes from a place of genuine concern or genuine care or genuine critique. And that is extremely frightening. It reminds me very much of 1984, one of my favorite books ever. I read it in high school, and I read it 2 more times after high school. And I feel like we are living in 1984. In fact, the main character, Winston, he's the first fact checker, actually. He wasn't called a fact checker in the book, but if you read the book, he's essentially a fact checker. And in the book, is it Winston that says that, I actually have it somewhere, I save it. It's one of my favorite go-to quotes, especially in the times that we're living in right now. Beautiful. It speaks to everything, ironically. He says that because the party was this massive beast in charge, basically. There was one party. There weren't many parties in this 1984 paradigm. And so there's only the one party, and then they had this manufactured enemy that kept people basically loyal to this party. The party told you to reject the evidence of their eyes and their ears. It was their final, most essential command. And every time I come across something like this, I think of it because you can't trust what you watch anymore at all. You can't trust what you're reading. You can't trust sources. And so, yes, there might be groups of people that think, yes, this man can lead because he gets stuff done and he's not politicking. Doesn't look like he's playing that political game so much. But then on the other hand, if you look at the mechanisms through which these campaigns are being sent, we're moving into an era where the only thing that we should be focusing on as South African citizens is being hyper aware, informing ourselves, arming ourselves with knowledge so that we can properly discern information when it comes our way, because it's going to be a very challenging time, because it's going to remain and probably should be very unregistered an unregulated, industry, digital communications. And so, yeah, that's interesting. So I don't know what the support actually is. It's interesting. What do you think? I mean, I don't know if you read about the AI aspect of the entire campaign.
I've actually gone off X because I spent too much time every day coming across disinformation and misinformation. It was just taking up too much of my time, having to sift information from disinformation and misinformation. So I tend not to go there anymore.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're living in very interesting times. And I think that, one of the things that we need to do, citizens need to really awaken to their power. We have a government in absolute shambles. If you run the numbers, I can't remember what they said the voter turnout was. Was it 60 something percent? Usually it's around there in 2024 national elections. Okay. And if you actually take the entire adult South African population of, I think it's 43 million, and if you actually look at the registered voters who did not vote, add that to unregistered voters, meaning that people did not register to vote at all, ever. The voter turnout in the 2024 elections was actually 39%. And that's why I say GNU is just hanging by a thread. It's really a last-ditch effort to try and hold some semblance of normality so our economy doesn't completely crumble. I mean, I feel like the government's very much in trouble. From day one in 2024, they've done nothing but try to get more tax because it's running out of money, because just the nature of our political system, governance is not happening the way it should. Money's being mismanaged and stolen left, right, and center. We are servicing our interest. We're not paying our debt as a nation. It's quite a disaster. So 39% of South Africans voted for the circus in Parliament. That means pretty much most of us are not supporting the system. Most people do not go and vote, not because they're too lazy to stand in a queue, because they just don't see hope. Like, what is the point? And honestly, with the ones in Parliament right now, what is the point, really? Yeah, unfortunately, because of the crisis we're experiencing, and I think also because of the level of poverty South Africa has, it's very hard for people to get away from ideological politics. And as long as we're stuck in that, we're not going to move forward. So I believe, and this is why I started OWN, is let's get rid of party politics. Let's rather, and we have a whole entire plan, but let's rather vote for the president directly. We don't vote for the president directly. The leader of the major political party in South Africa is also the leader of the country. No one's ever thought that once the president becomes the president, they should let go of all party official titles. No one's ever thought of that before. It's absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't matter which party is in charge. You can't be a party president and the country's president at the same time. There's going to be overlap, there's going to be conflict of interest, and we actually see that play out. So the system's totally broken. And I think it's time for a new one. And I think most people can agree that it's not working. Why continue doing something if you keep on getting a terrible result? Clearly, we should look at changing things just a little bit at least. But can we count on the people in parliament to change things? No, we cannot, because they are fed very, very well from their positions in power in parliaments and wherever.
You've always believed that independent candidates can be held accountable as opposed to people who belong to a party and often get protected by that party.
Absolutely. That's the problem. It's really a mafia system. And I think, you know what, it's so easy for parties to try get dirt on their most influential members and to hold them hostage in their positions. And like I said the other day, being a member of parliament, you're really just a sack of meat. You're only there not to represent your constituency, not to represent the people of South Africa, but to be that spokesperson for the party. And does the party represent you? Now, if the party in a utopian world, if the party legitimately represented the people, maybe the system could stand a fighting chance. But it doesn't. It does not represent the people. What happens to all parties? You get a seat. Do you want to let go of that seat? Absolutely not. So you do everything you can to grow the size of your party, to grow your funding, so that you can get more seats, therefore get more power to secure your future. The system is so flawed. And so we need to attack it at all angles, change it, improve it so that South Africa can finally have a government that serves the people instead of a government that absolutely controls everybody. Because that's where we're headed right now. And it's actually quite a terrifying future if we don't actually stand up and do something about it.
Indeed, that was Lauren Evanthia, the founder of the Organic Humanity Movement, with me, Christine, on the NdB Sunday Show. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Chris.